Hey, let's talk about closure, shall we? Look at that poster behind me. Whenever people come over, they ask me if that's me, and I wish it was me. It's actually my dad in the 60s, eyes filled with adventure, shit-eating grin. Just kidding, that is not my dad. That is Steve McQueen. My dad in the 60s, 70s was in the war, not in the war, he was in Vietnam, and he was in the military, eating snake heads off, which is probably bullshit because he was a nurse. He probably never left the the tents where you were. Not that he didn't do important work. Anyway, let's talk about closure. I get a lot of clients wanting to close things. They come see me when they have a lot of anxiety because something wasn't closed. And I think the greatest misconception with closure is that it requires someone else. And here's the trap with closure. If you believe that in order to close something, you're going to need someone else, meaning another person to give you something, maybe an apology, maybe an explanation, maybe a second chance. No, that's not closure. That's called reopening. That's called a lot of possibly wasted time in living in old patterns that are not serving you anymore. I'm getting off track, but if you want or feel like you need someone to give you something to close whatever happened, you are going to be powerless. You are going to create your own prison. You are going to be expecting and wanting and needing and dependent on someone else. And if that person doesn't give you what you feel you need, and in most cases they don't, then you walk the world with anger, resentment, a cold heart possibly, and nothing is closed, right? And then nothing being closed makes you skittish when it comes to loving someone else, right? Or you're not present in this relationship because this other shit isn't closed, so you're seeking for this closure and you feel that you can't close this without someone else, so you're kind of like in limbo and you're scared to love and you're not present and all of that, right? Here's the truth about closure. You don't need someone else to close something. I'm not saying that it's easy, but you can't. If you believe that you do, then you will always be dependent and powerless. So here's the new definition of closure. And you know, everyone has their own journey, their own process, but I just want to give you one truth, and that is you don't need anyone else to close something. Part of closure is grieving. Part of closure is processing. Part of closure is possibly redefining, you know, and all of that stuff you can do on your own. I mean, you may need a therapist or a coach or someone to process with, but closure is an inner self journey and it takes time. So I want to remind you that does anyone do this with their thumb? You're killing two birds. It's one and it's a thumbs up. One, you don't need anyone else to close something. I know easier said than done, but you don't. Two, it's an inner self journey, and I italicized the word journey because people think that closure just means not following someone on social media, which can be the first domino, can be, you know, the beginning of it. People think closure means, you know, just drawing boundaries, right? And of course that can be the beginning, but closure is really an inner process where you maybe need to forgive, maybe need to reflect, maybe need to take ownership yourself, right? Closure maybe means for you to reevaluate through new lenses, right? Closure may mean to find lessons in what went wrong, how something changed you, like all of these things, right? And there's no blanket answer. It's different for every person. But if you start swimming in that, the past will have less hold on you and you won't need someone else to close something for you. All you need is yourself, your feelings, your reflection, your revelations. I think a lot of forgiveness, when we don't forgive and we hold on and we are, white knuckling through life, these become very annoying pebbles in our shoe. And I always say that when you have pebbles in your shoe, you're going to walk funny. And so make sure that you are closing this on your own, not just forgetting, but doing the work, processing, expressing how you feel about something. Maybe part of closure is you feeling heard and understood, and that doesn't have to be a space provided by who you used to love. It could be with a therapist, or a coach, or with a friend, right? And make sure you're processing what happened. Make sure you're able to let go, maybe through forgiveness, maybe through you taking ownership. And then also part of closure is actually giving yourself a new experience that's going to eventually eclipse the old. I really believe that that this is a part of closure, because you can process the shit out of something, but until you experience something new and different, there's still going to be residue, right? So if you can start to give yourself new experiences without comparing, and this new experience gives you a new imprint, and you start to actually feel, not just see and hear and taste and smell, but you actually feel in your body, oh, this is different, this is new, this will then start to eclipse the old, hence giving you more closure. Also, finally, I want you to know that closure isn't a straight line like this. Closure is a wiggly line, like grieving, like, quote unquote, getting over someone. It has a lot of feelings, unpredictable feelings. Some days it's easy, some days it's hard. Closure is it's a swimming in the gray. Sometimes it's going through the tunnel. It is a journey, and there is no blanket answer on how to do it. It's uniquely individually. It's individually unique to you and your story and what you've been through. So don't put a ticking clock on closure, right? You're gonna close it as you process and create new experiences for yourself.